Ford and GM are reporting their earnings later in the week, but will Detroit's filing for bankruptcy have any effect on these automakers? Joining me today is Keith Bliss from Cuttone Co. So we will see these automakers report later in the week. Do you think that Detroit's bankruptcy will have any sort of effect on them?
Well, at least not initially. Both GM and Ford have said that they're not going to bail on the city as opposed to bail out the city, I guess you could say. They're going to stay put. They have a lot of workers, and in fact, Ford has even signaled that they're going to hire more white-collar workers. So listen, they've been long-standing residents and anchors of the area. It would really be devastating to the area if they were to pull out at this point in time. The bankruptcy for Detroit, municipality of Detroit, is probably the best thing that could have happened to them, and actually allow them to right-size what they're doing from a pension standpoint, from an expense standpoint, types of services they provide, and get the city back in order. But to your initial point is that no, I don't think the bankruptcy will have anything to do with GM and Ford now or going forward.
Now, the bankruptcy in Detroit does have some red flags about other possible cities that could also happen to. For example, Chicago was downgraded last week. Do you think that we will see this with any other cities?
It's a possibility. Once the first shoe drops and people get over the stigma of a bankruptcy, whether it's a company or a municipality or even, God forbid, a state, then other municipalities will probably seek remedy in this. It's the best way to go. Listen, Detroit is a very bad cautionary tale for lots of cities that are going on in the United States. When you talk about politicians that made promises they couldn't possibly keep, intransigent unions that dug in their heels on pension deals that they knew couldn't possibly be paid off, and then you have politicians trying to make that up by raising taxes on the populace to as high as they can get it. It's just a recipe for disaster. We've seen that in Detroit. There's some other cities that need to take notice, Chicago being one that you mentioned, also Oakland is another one that is on the precipice of going down this very bad route. But again, same token, going into bankruptcy, going into Chapter 9 of the Bankruptcy Code, well, it should allow these cities to right-size what they're doing from a service and expense and a revenue standpoint without involving the rest of the U.S. taxpayers to bail them out.
And finally, there are analysts talking about there is promise with GM because of the housing recovery and how that could help their truck sales. Do you think that we will see kind of the housing sector and auto sector go hand in hand in growth for the rest of 2013?
Typically you do. When you talk about those two items inside of a family's household budget, housing and then their automobiles are typically the two most expensive items that they have in there. What's been the problem with GM is ever since they got bailed out and went into bankruptcy in 2009, they've not had a lot of money or capital to reinvest in their product line, and that's been stagnant for the last 4 years. They are now coming out of that, and that's why analysts are very high on that. They're going to take 18 of their models and retool them completely for 2014 and going forward. That's going to really boost sales right now and increase their margins. They have to catch up right now. Ford has a higher margin in North America, about 10.4%. GM's is riding around 9% right now. They catch up. So analysts predict, yes, that the higher value and the bigger bang for your buck inside of investment will be in GM.